Hey guys, what I'd like to do today is give you my opinion on the newly announced Steam Deck. This was announced yesterday by Valve, and this all-in-one PC gaming handheld can, as the name suggests, play all of your Steam games. So it's going to be coming out here in the UK from £349 this December 2021. I'll have a look at other pricing options in a minute because that's not the version I would go for. But the key thing here is that Valve have released a handheld that can play all of the games on their platform. And you can draw your own conclusions from this video in the background here as to what you like about it. But there are a few things to note here. The first one would be, in Valve's defense, they are trying to accommodate tens of thousands of different games, most of which use either a keyboard and a mouse, but many use a controller, many use driving wheels, so they're trying to accommodate everyone, and it is quite difficult. And that's why they've got two trackpads in the middle, and it's probably why, and I'm not a fan of this, but it's maybe why the D-pad has been relegated to the top left there, which just looks like it would be awful to play fighting games with. But it's difficult for them to try and, design something that keeps everyone happy and allows you to play all different games. It does look like it'll be okay for first-person shooters and third-person shooters, etc., driving games and whatnot. Now I just want to scroll down, skip ahead just now, and show you the pricing options. So I'll jump ahead here. So they're calling it 3 storage options, but it's not just storage that distinguish these 3 options here. The entry level model, £349, 64 gigabytes. That uses eMMC internal storage. So it comes with this, looks like a really good carrying case. I like the look of that. But the key thing here is that it uses eMMC internal storage. I think it's Gen 2. My guess is that the read and write speeds for that will just be like 200 to 300 megabytes per second at most. It's not going to be fast, and that's why I would not recommend this version. For another £110, if you jump up to this £459 model, you not only increase the internal storage to 256 gigabytes, you also get NVMe SSD storage. Now, I've got Gen 4 SSDs in my PC that can go up to 6,000 megabytes per second, but this uses Gen 3. So you're realistically going to get, it's kind of similar to this. You're going to get about up to 3,000 megabytes per second. It's probably going to be a little bit lower because it's in a handheld, etc. But, if you get a few thousand megabytes per second reading and writing, that will be significantly better than what you would get with eMMC. Now, if you pay another £110, and you go up to the £569 model, you double your storage, you go up to 512 gigabytes, but you also get this premium anti-glare etched glass. So they're saying 3 storage options here, and it is true, but when you increase what you're paying, when you jump from the lowest model to the middle, you get a better type of storage, and then you go up again, you get more storage, but you also get that premium anti-glare glass. Now, I've not got this. I've not seen the reviews yet. I'm not sure how good that glass is, but there's certainly a few different things for people to consider before they decide which Steam Deck to buy. So if you just look at the hardware here, they went with an AMD CPU system, which is, if I just quickly jump ahead here, it is 4 cores, 8 threads. But if you look at the controls here, like I said, you've got 2 trackpads in the middle there. You've got the thumbsticks, you've got your triggers, L1, L2, R1, R2, but you've also got grip buttons at both sides. So there's L4, L5, and then R4, R5. And the L3 and R3 are the buttons in the front, the controls at the front. So there's a lot of extra buttons there, which some games might take advantage of. So you've got a 7-inch touchscreen. It uses SteamOS. The whole system does. You've got trackpads, you've got gyro, which might be used in some, we can see here a shooting game, but you'll get it in driving games, different things that will use gyro as well. Okay, everything you need. Hi-Fi audio, a 40 watt hour battery that gives you 78 hours. Expandable, so it uses a USB Type-C connection. You can expand it to a dock, and the dock is separate. We'll have a look at that. It's got a wireless connection as well. You've got Bluetooth and fast suspend and resume via Steam OS. So it's got a micro SD card slot as well, which is good. I like the fact that you can put your games or all your library onto micro SD. But for me, this video here in the background, this really sells it for me. This really does sell it for me as something that maybe does something a little bit more than what you would get maybe with a Switch or something. Yes, you can dock the Switch. Yes, you can connect it to your monitor. But just the idea of having all your Steam games, all your PC games, and using it as a PC by just connecting it to a monitor and hooking up a keyboard and mouse, that seems appealing to me. And I love the idea of taking that, whenever I go traveling, I'd take that and you can just play so many different games. I'm not even a massive Steam gamer, if I'm honest, but even I've got like 20 or so games on Steam. And one of the greatest things about Steam is that there's so many classic games available for so little, like under $1, under $5, etc. So from a gaming point of view, I do think this looks good. Yes, the D-pad has kind of been sacrificed here, but maybe not the best ergonomic position for some of the controls. But I like the setup here, and I love the idea that you can just plug in your game controller, etc. Now, I'm sure you're all aware of Steam. That's what this page is about. I'll kind of skip through this, but it's just telling you about Steam OS and, the Steam platform. That's all good. But really, what we want to see is the tech specs. Now, most of the controller, the handheld there, I'm calling it a controller. It's a handheld because the controller is obviously built in. But you kind of figured out most of it there. But you can see that you've got microphones here. There's left and right speaker there. You've got the trackpads. There's an options button. There's a view button. There's a Steam button as well. There's a few extra buttons there that you might not have noticed. Fan at the top. This is quite similar to the Switch at the top here. Volume, headphone jack, fan, Type-C connection. Kind of par for the course there. And then you've got your micro SD down the bottom, and you've got your R4, R5, L4, L5. So there's the setup that it's got there, the AMD architecture, 4 cores, 8 threads with a GPU, 40-15 watts it draws, and it uses 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM. And you can see there Gen 2 for the entry-level model, and then it goes up to Gen 3 speeds for PCI Express, which just means that you'll get significantly faster read and write speeds. The other thing to note is the display, which is 16 by 10. It's 1280 by 800 pixels, and it is a 7-inch touchscreen. It's 60 Hz. So this is another issue which I think some people will have concern about. Yes, I mean, I think I would have preferred a higher refresh rate personally, and I think a lot of people would have as well. Certainly, if you're playing driving games or first-person shooters. As far as the resolution goes, I think 1280 by 800 is fine for a 7-inch display. And I realise there's a balance between getting a nice display and getting good battery life. But 60 Hz, I think they really should have tried to push that up to 120 if possible. I think, yes, it requires, more power, more performance. It really does, but I don't know. Certain games would have taken advantage of that high refresh rate. Games like Counter-Strike, etc. would have taken advantage of that. So that's maybe one issue that some people will have with it. USB Type-C, it weighs 669 grams. It's not too heavy. Not too big either, in my opinion. So another accessory that is going to be available, I'm not sure of the price of this as yet, but there's an official dock that's got a USB Type-C cable that goes to the Steam Deck, DisplayPort 1.4, HDMI 2.0. Would have liked 2.1 there, but I suspect this handheld might not have been able to take advantage of it anyway. Ethernet, 5G, 2.5G, 10 gigabit Ethernet would have been good, but USB 3.1, and then you've got 2 USB 2.0. So yes, it's maybe bizarre to some of you saying, why is there USB 2.0 ports there? But that's your keyboard and mouse, effectively. So yeah, that's it there. And there's a developers page there as well. Now, the big thing here, and a lot of people are going to draw comparisons of this to the Nintendo Switch, which is understandable, especially because Nintendo have just announced the Nintendo Switch OLED version. Now, here in the UK, this is going to be released about £300 or so. So this is going to be, if you get the middle option, the one with the good NVMe storage, this is going to be about 50% more, with the entry-level model being quite close to the Switch in price. And there's going to be a lot of people comparing them, and for some people it's going to be either or. But they are different things, really. I realise they play games, but the Steam Deck is a different beast altogether, and it's tapping into a whole PC gaming platform. Now, I've not spoke about the OLED model on this channel as yet. I've not given you my opinion on this yet. My opinion on the OLED, just very quickly, is that if you don't have a Switch, it's the one to get, even if it means paying a little bit more. But if you have a Switch already, I don't think there's enough to upgrade. I really don't. And I also think, the OLED display looks beautiful. It looks absolutely stunning. But I also think that certain things such as the adjustable stand and an Ethernet port in the dock, these should have been there from day one. I mean, that is the worst little kickstand you've ever seen. It's just terrible. That they realised that was terrible from the start, but they released it anyway. And the fact they released a console in the late 2010s without an Ethernet port is a joke as well. But they have addressed these issues, so I'm not complaining. Yes, they've increased the internal storage and have improved the speakers, but really there isn't enough there for existing Switch owners to upgrade, in my opinion. So if you're deciding between the two, well, if you're a PC gamer, you'll probably lean towards Steam. If you're a console gamer, you'll probably lean towards the Switch. But if you've got a Switch already, I wouldn't upgrade to the new Nintendo Switch OLED. I would buy a Steam Deck instead. To me, it complements your setup a lot better, helps you tap into a lot of different games. I've not tried this yet, I've not tested it, I've not bought it yet, but this looks like an interesting console. It's not perfect. Like I said, I don't like what the D-pad is. There's some other things that I don't like the 60 hertz refresh rate, which granted, that's what you'll get in the Nintendo consoles as well, but I think they kind of missed a beat here considering how many PC gamers will want a higher refresh rate. But yeah, it looks good. It looks good. Now, with regards to the refresh rate though, I've not seen anything about this, but bear in mind that yes, the handheld might be 60 hertz, but I suspect that if you plug the handheld into the monitor, a high refresh monitor, you should be able to play games at a higher refresh rate, higher resolution and all that as well. So that, I guess that's a workaround in a way, but I would have loved to have seen 120 hertz. So I spoke about this a lot. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, guys. What's your thoughts on the Steam Deck? What's your thoughts on the new Nintendo Switch OLED model? Which one would you get for the money? Leave your opinion below. Please do post a comment, and I'll speak to you all in the next one. Cheers, guys.